This is the law of compensation tonight, and wow, we have a different crew this evening, and we were just mentioning before the recording started that these are all men tonight. So this is going to be a an interesting conversation. It might be a little bit of a different tone. I'm not sure. So yeah, just a reminder: anybody who is watching these conversations, you watching at home or you watching wherever you're watching. Please remember that if you are a member of the Karmic Margin Call Project Time Bank, you can log into your account and claim these hours as a service you are providing. So you get credit for all the time that you spend watching and taking notes and even thinking about what it is that we're talking about here in the natural law series. So yeah, absolutely. Please reach out to me if you need help logging those hours. It's just services provided. It comes from the Karmic Margin Call Project Time Bank to you. So, it's a service you are providing. And the category we normally use is workshops, presentations, and tutorials. So please feel free to do that. And as you are accumulating these hours, watching this entire series, you're going to have probably about 20, 21, 22 hours accumulated, which which you'll find out in the next couple of weeks here, how that kind of, helps create what we call a stewardship account, where you will be receiving financial return based on the cumulative efforts of the time bank. But we're going to talk a little bit about that later tonight. So before we go into tonight's topic, let's introduce you to who all is here tonight. And as I do that, I'm going to put my computer on speaker view. So yeah, so we're gonna talk to Randy, Hemant, and Jared. Just when you have them, just if you have a moment, just tell us how are you feeling tonight? What would you like people to know about you if they were just meeting you for the first time? And I think we'll just start with Randy. Randy, feel free to introduce yourself and how are you arriving and what are you bringing tonight?
Well, thank you, Mike. Oh, goodness. I am really intrigued about this topic. Um, I have some viewpoints that I'll share there that might, I don't know, go against the grain. Who knows? So I'm kind of, again, really excited to learn new things because, again, if I've got ways of seeing things that are, I don't know, preordained. There's likely going to be something that I'm going to hear tonight that makes me go, Here. So, yeah, this is good to be here. Is I spoke a little bit with you about what was going on in my life. I've been writing a book. Been in a flow state, been very productive with that. I share little bites publicly. People have been responding very well. It's been very encouraging. I think, and again, the flow state I might be because got a little bit of gas on the fire there. Um, so I'm real happy. Also, one of the things mentioned earlier is I'm very grateful that I got to speak in front of the River Fellowship, Mike,
Mhm.
Circle of Miracles that happened at the beginning of this month. And it was very gratifying. My soul was very much satisfied by the time I get to spend with these wonderful people. So yeah, so I got some excitement. I got some gratitude. Yeah, looking forward to our time together today.
All right. So then why don't we go to Hemant next? Hemant, how have you been? It's been a couple of days for you. You were here on our I think our Thursday night conversation, but how are you arriving? What are you bringing? And what would you like to say to introduce yourself to anyone who might be watching?
Yeah, I'm good, Mike. Every conversation with you is bringing me some clarity and also some curiosity to what's going to happen next.
Mhm.
This is the thing happening from the first day of living library conversation. I'm learning something new in total unknown place, right? It's not coming from a known point of view. I'm every conversation I'm having feeling like, right, I'm talking uh, to many stories, not a single story, because you have been. I can sense that you have been collecting these stories for years. Yeah, I'm grateful for that, Mike. Yeah,
That's very
I'm
true.
good and happy to be here.
Excellent. Thank you, Hemant. All right, Jared, you're up. Again, it's been a couple of days for you as well too. So long time no see. Please, actually, you actually did not get a chance to introduce yourself in the last conversation. So this is kind of apropos that you are invited now to say what is alive for you in your world at this time.
I'm feeling all right, feeling good. I guess as the folks say, everything's coming up Millhouse, so we'll take that and accept it. Um, I guess a little bit about myself. My normal life, I trained as a professional chef, professional brewer. Um, my metaphysic and spirit life, I'm a Norse animist. Um, I'm a rune worker. I work very heavily with those spirits. They've recently tasked me with working and delving into a lot of racial healing with other European Americans and helping to um, cultivate that and develop and create um, healing centers and places where other European Americans can come together and begin this process of deconstructing all the garbage that we have created and the oppression that we've created on others.
Hmm.
It's been a fun task from the runes. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what else to say. Father and husband and all the normal stuff, I guess, right? So
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
forward to being here. This will be an interesting topic for sure.
yeah. Very good, Jared. And I'm learning more about you now as we're as we're kind of progressing on with these introductions. And wow, what amazing work! Challenging work, amazing, amazing work. So we'll hopefully delve into that a little bit more tonight as well too. So, for those who don't know me, my name is Mike Schumann. I am a ministry candidate. I've often been saying that I am a minister because what I'm studying at the moment is the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus. And in that, what is said is that everybody is a priest to themselves, and that that people who we kind of put in a hierarchy or put in a position of power are really just people who fear God or fear Source, and that there really is no need for it. There's no need anymore, to kind of put anybody or anything, above you. That we're all an expression of the divine. So, as part of my ministry candidacy, my ministry candidacy, did I say that right? There's two projects that I'm working on, and this series is part of that ministry outreach in that project. My healing project that I'm working on is healing community through the written and spoken word. So all of these conversations, these living library conversations, is meant to facilitate dialogue, heartfelt dialogue, to help us get to really know each other and eventually build trust and make collaborative spaces out of competitive ones. And my ministry, which is really kind of being expressed through a lot of through this work with the natural law, is helping others to understand universal principles. We sometimes call that natural law, so that the forgiveness of debt becomes possible. So I've been doing a lot of work in the nonprofit world with time banking, with different interspiritual communities and interfaith communities, about looking at how time banking makes universal basic income possible. And what that means is coming together and learning the truth, learning each other's truth, and forgiving. And we are developing the systems that make universal basic income possible. And tonight is going to be a major component of that conversation. So to give you a little background about where we've been, so all of these conversations are recorded. Back in October, we started talking about the first four natural laws: the law of divine oneness, law of gender, law of correspondence, and law of rhythm. And what that really was meant to do was to create these living library conversations where it's really just about generous listening. It's about asking clarifying questions so that we can begin trust. We can make collaborative environments. We can cultivate collaborative environments. Then in November, we started looking at how to deepen that conversation. We kind of went from appreciation conversations in October to what I call possibility conversations, where we start to really look at the interchangeability or the relationship between time and money. So we did that through law of relativity, law of vibration, law of cause and effect, and law of polarity. And now here in December, we're going to start to talk about how to kind of put this in action. How do we really start to generate the understanding that's going to make universal basic income possible? So last week, Hemant and Jared were a part of the law of what did we do last week? The remind me, Jared and Hemant, what did we do last week? Last week, I just went through 8 natural laws, and now the one that we did last week is uh, is uh, is escaping me. Help me out here, guys. So I have to look at my notes. Here we go. Yes. Okay, we did the law of magnetism, which is the natural law that has kind of been the most popular because we think of law of attraction. So what law of magnetism is, it's just a derivative of law of vibration, which means everything is energy, which is a derivative of law of divine oneness. So the way that we start to implement this understanding of universal basic income is understanding that you don't have to push yourself into a world that's not right for you, that the people who are coming into your that are coming into your field of awareness, that are attracted to you, they're the ones that are going to help to help kind of change your world and change the world in the process. So the more that you try to force yourself into a world that wants you to compete, that wants you to be something that you're not, that's kind of when we kind of get off center of the law of magnetism. But you men who are here tonight, you are the right people for this conversation, and you're right where you need to be. And there's nothing you can do that can't be done, as the Beatles would say. And there's nowhere you can be that isn't where you're meant to be. So tonight is going to be law of compensation, and we're going to start to talk a little bit about really the logistics on how to make universal basic income possible. So in the pre-recorded material that I'll be putting in with this presentation tonight, we're going to be looking at the EPE system, or the Equal Partnership Economy system, where it's just accounting. It's just really accounting differently. And it sets up a banking system that allows everybody to contribute what you want when you can. And we really just kind of reveal how to reassign the value of time, reassign the value of time as you participate in a time bank. So the conversation we'll be having tonight is, if we are redistributing global wealth, and if it's really possible to create a system where there's quadrillions of dollars that can be divvied out evenly, what does that make possible? Are you okay with that? Is that something that would be beneficial? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. But before we do, I'd like to ask each of you here tonight, when you hear about the natural law or the universal principle of law of compensation, what comes up for you? What are some of your impressions, thoughts, or feelings? Now, Randy, you said that you have a lot of a lot of thoughts on this. Why don't we pass it to you first? What comes up for you when you consider law of compensation?
So just to make sure that I understand it the same as others in this discussion, it's basically, well, some people call it karma. That there's always a return on your efforts, and might as well just get it out of the way since I wrote my mouth. What scares me is because my modus operandi for most of my life was that my relationships were transactional. If I did something nice for Mike, doggone it, Mike, you better do something nice back to me, or I can have a resentment. Now, what complicated was, and there was never anything verbalized. It was all inside my head, kind of stuff. So, knowing that that was my modus operandi and it wasn't working for me, I'd become very intentional about not trying to keep a scorecard. Yeah, and such. So That's basically my thing. So again, I'm seeing you nod your head, Mike. So yeah, so this law of compensation is that if it's not in the physical realm, not something in something that I guess you could keep score, kind of a paycheck thing, and stuff, that it's done in a different realm. What I guess we could say in the formless, the spiritual realm, that whatever we do, there is something that is received back that would be perceived as beneficial. Um, and we talked about law of polarity, though. Also, I do using that word karma. If I'm just in my mind saying if that is correct, then therefore, when I'm doing things that are harmful, there will also be a return on that. So if I am doing things that are detrimental to myself or to others, there will be a response. There's a cause and effect going in. So that's what I wanted to say.
Great. Thank you, Randy. I want to also reflect back is that you're right. To me, there is a tie-in and a correlation between law of compensation and law of cause and effect or karma. So yeah, what I'm noticing, as these conversations proceed, is kind of like how one natural law is a derivative of another. Like, for instance, to me, law of gender is a derivative of law of polarity, which again is a derivative of law of cause and effect, which is a derivative of divine oneness. So yeah, I want to reflect that back as well too, that they're all interconnected. Jared or Hemant, what is your impression or thoughts or feelings that come up for you when reflecting on law of compensation?
Well, to kind of play off what Randy was talking about, the word value has been used significantly in this just the past few minutes. And uh, when when we look at the way that the Aids of the runes are organized in the Elder Futhark, they begin with Fehu. And Fehu is a rune that's associated with movable wealth. It's cattle. So when we start to look at that, but for me, it's this imminent of what do we place value in? And we have no clue anymore. We put more value in our cars. We put more value in the work that we think that we're doing. We have tendency to misplace so much of that value. Our value system is tied up in digital currency, whether it's the dollar or Bitcoin or whatever it is. It's not real. So when we really have to look at this aspect of giving and receiving and where we're placing that value. If I have cattle and cows that are producing milk, I'm going to produce a ton of milk. That's going to go to waste. But somebody else may have value in that. I don't have chickens, they may have chickens. So we create a system based on our own personal value and the personal wealth that we have versus what somebody else is telling us is valuable. And that, as we progress through the first eight of the runes, we see a lot of that. We go from understanding our own personal value and the value that we see in things into understanding who we are through urus, taking away masks and identifying ourselves to the point where we are no longer domesticated. From there into Thurzaz and deconstructing and breaking that down, and it continues to progress until we get to a point where we're looking at ourselves laying naked on the floor, um, basically with nothing but what it is that we place value within. And I don't think that we can truly develop a system or understanding until we understand and connected with those that hold value in the same things that we do. I hope that the way that it should have come across, but
No, that's perfect. That actually leads me to another inquiry I'd like to make with all of us. But thank you. Are you complete, Jared, or do you have
yeah,
any?
I want to hear more because it just kind of feeds that process for me and that thought, and I appreciate that.
Okay. Okay. Iman, what thoughts or feelings or impressions come up for you when you reflect on law of compensation?
I'm having a lot of thoughts in my head. Let me go through one by one.
Go for it.
Actually, this is the thing I'm hearing from many world-class entrepreneurs as well as saints. The only people who don't need in the earth is people. Because earth will be fine on its own. Even to say it will be good on its own. So by my friend used to say it, right? There is two terms, HS, BS. HS is human shit. This will for sure pollute environment. But bullshit can be used to as a fertilizer or even it nurture nature. By default, we exist in a mode of law of compensation. We are just hurting or healing somebody by existing our presence. Our presence itself healing or hurting someone,
Mm,
knowingly or unknowingly.
yeah.
No matter how I think is my action is hurting or healing others, it comes to the question again. One cannot happen without other, right? In the process of healing someone, I'm I'm not taking care of someone. This is the thing I've been pondering for a while, right? What to do it, right? When we have an option to put it in perspective, we are always having the opportunity to help someone. For instance, if you get to meet a beggar, you can give some them money to them. But at the moment, what I think is what is money I'm giving really helping them? Because instead, even if I get to spend time with myself and improve and help many people, at the moment I don't need to pay them the money, right? Instead, I can spend the energy on myself to improve further to help many people. These are the things that always I keep on pondering, right? What's the compensation, right? If I'm leaving the person in front of myself to save the future ones, is it really the one we need to be doing like this stuff? And at the same time, what Gerard and Randy said to me rings the value, right? uh, Value, how can we place the value? How can we determine the one we need to compensate, right? These are the things going in my head.
Mm, beautiful. Beautiful. Randy or Jared, would you like to reflect what resonated with you with what Hemant had offered up, or maybe even asking you clarifying questions? Because what I'd like to reflect first, Hemant, when you had said that, is that you're absolutely right. With speaking as someone who has been homeless and has been in some dire situations, I can honestly say there were times where handing me, a lot of money would not have really helped me in that situation. And it's really about, yeah, how do we determine the value? And if someone, and I'm speaking for myself now, I can't speak for anyone else who would be in that position. And I know a lot of people who are currently in that position at the moment as well. Is that the answers or the value or the growth is in, and again, this is just for me speaking for myself, is in understanding on a deeper level how these systems work, because um, when I was given a lot of money at one point, I didn't know my own value, and it went it went very quickly. And I had to go through a time of being homeless, of being suicidal, of being being in a situation where I was cut off from everything. But in those moments, that's where I kind of learned how the system works, why it works the way it does, and more importantly, how to see the value in myself and in others when I couldn't see it or others couldn't see it in themselves. So that's what comes up for me in reflection of whether or not to choose to help the beggar or to help yourself. If we're all one anyway, it's all it's all contributing to the greater understanding in my estimation. So I'd like to give someone else a chance to reflect, ask questions.
Well, it is an interesting paradigm that, well, I used to sometimes look at a person who was, in that type of situation, obviously living outdoors and in need, it's like, say things like, oh, not but for the grace of God, there go I. And I don't know what the catalyst was, but I stopped seeing that, and it was just like, there go I. I can see similarities more than I can see the differences between people most of the time. Well, did have an interesting experience the other day where a gentleman was standing on the center aisle of this place I was turning into going into work. And I don't know whether it was because I was going to work and I was just in that kind of space that I wasn't relaxed. But also the thing is the island was very narrow. And I was concerned if my car was going to hit him. He was intoxicated and weaving around. And I think that was another factor involved with me. It was not so much of how can I serve this person. It's like, how do I make sure that I don't hurt the man with his car, and then also, of course, ruin my day because I've just hit a pedestrian kind of stuff. So I guess what I'm saying is there's certainly sometimes when I'm not all aware kind of thing. But yeah, to respond to what I heard with Matt, yeah, it's like, and kind of to expand upon what I just touched on, I think it's dynamic. I don't think there's a one size fits all paradigm. Sometimes, yeah, maybe the best thing I can do is look a person in the eye and let them know that they're a human and they're seen and they're heard and appreciated and they're valuable, and not looked at as less than, or when there was no pity in when I see them. And then sometimes it might be best to hand them a 5 or a 10 or 20 if I'm feeling so inclined. But yeah, because again, that's just basically been my experience. There's not a, every time I see somebody with cardboard, I hand them a buck. And there's not always a time when I see that person that I look at them and kind of go, yeah, poor soul, kind of thank God I don't have to live outside today and stuff. So yeah. So thank you for being the catalyst for those thoughts, Matt.
Yeah, there's definitely something to that. And as Hermath, when you were talking about the beggar and so forth, that had me reflecting a little bit on what I mean. I drive by a park every day, multiple times sometimes throughout the day, that has a very large homeless population and encampments in there. And I always think about their stories. How did they get there? What, the direct response is, well, they valued drugs more, they valued alcohol more, they squandered their money, whatever it was. But case in point, I don't know their actual situation. And that kind of was brought to light while I was studying with Ryan Smith, who is I believe, a university professor. He's written several books, including one, The Way of Fire and Ice, Guide to Modern or Radical Heathenry. And he talks about and reflects on the sagas, how Odin would disguise himself. And we see this with Zeus as well, and so forth. These gods will come down to earth and disguise themselves as mortals, and oftentimes as beggars. We see it in the Judeo-Christian text as well, with Sodom and Gomorrah, and some of these other stories where angelic beings come down. And it comes back to hospitality and this value that we have on humanity and life. And Ryan Smith suggests carrying $9 with you and giving that to a homeless person that you see, or someone in need, because it represents the nine worlds of that cosmology. Um, but it comes down to this fear that we have of each other. Why are we afraid of each other? Why has that happened? Why do we dehumanize certain groups of people, rather than look at them as being humans, just like you said, Randy? We that that whole point and whole philosophy of being equal vanishes when we begin to place, or misplace value in that respect, and that we can't offer equal exchange. We can't offer anything because we don't know, because we don't ask. Hermant, you mentioned, like, well, I could give them, a couple dollars, or, some money, but does it make more sense to say, what is it that I can get you? Would you like a cup of soup? Do you want um, can I get you a sandwich? Can I get you a hotel room tonight? Just something to uh, ask them where their value is and what it is that you're doing for them, because that money might mean nothing. What are they going to do with $20? But $20 could get them, what I mean? Like, you could utilize that $20 elsewhere to get them value, what they need. If that makes sense, the way I'm arranging that in my head.
Yeah, thank you, Jared. Yeah, yeah, and again, I think that's where there's potential living library conversations and being able to ask, what is it that you need in this moment, and what do you see as your value? What I'd like to ask everybody now, and this is kind of a uh, inspired by this conversation that we just had. What do you see as your value? And I want to ask everybody that question. What do you see as your value? You as a person.